Hey, it's the Ray Rican, and it's Friday, TGIF. And, you know, it's my normal, well, shouldn't say, so, for the most part, normally on Fridays, I'll just touch about a bunch of random stories that I see. Today's going to be no different. I'm actually going to start going, um, for- about a week or so ago, I talked about prayers for my dad. I want to thank people because it turns out he's not going to need surgery, which I'm happy. I'm relieved that they won't have to. They'll have to monitor his condition, but monitoring is better than having to have emergency surgery. So I'm happy with that. So my mind's more at ease now. So with that out of the way, let's talk about random news on Friday. Let's go to the share screen here. And in continuing with my critical race theory stuff from this whole week, I found this story here. Yale lecturer, I had fantasy of unloading a revolver into any white person that got in my way. A New York psychiatrist recently revealed during a public lecture at Yale University that she had cut all her white friends out of her life and even had fantasies about murdering random white people. On April 6th, Dr. Aruna Kelani gave a lecture at Yale School of Medicine's Child Studies Center titled The Psychopathic Problem of the White Mind. The irony, in which she said white people are out of their minds and sound demented when addressing issues such as race. Journalist Katie Herzog reported on Barry Weiss's Substack blog. This is the cost of talking to white people at all, the cost of your own life as they suck you dry, Dr. Kalini said. And according to an audio recording of the talk obtained by Miss Herzog, there are no good apples out there. White people make my blood boil. Around 5 years ago, I took some actions. I systematically white ghosted most of my white friends. I have less than 1% left. It was also a public service. So, anyways, look, listen, she's a psychiatrist. I think she needs to schedule some more time with other psychiatrists because she's mental. And people who accept critical race theory, in my mind, are mental. Let's see which one. I have all these stories here I pulled up. Let's see. This one's interesting. um, Golden Exodus. California shrank by 165,000 taxpayers, 8.8 billion in gross income. New IRS data shows California residents of all ages and incomes fled for more tax-friendly climates. Not a surprise. I had a was having a discussion with someone on Facebook on a chat on a post, and they said the only reason people were left California was because of COVID, and which is nonsense because here it goes. Look, the Internal Revenue Service recently released its latest taxpayer migration figures from tax years 2018 and 2019. They reflect migratory taxpayers who have fled, who had filed in a different state or county between 2017 and 2018, of which 8 million did in that time span. So 8 million people filed taxes in 2017 and 2018 of 2017 and 2018, which means in the fiscal year of 2018, you file the following year. So basically in 2017 and 2018, 8 million people filed taxes in another state other than California that were filing California taxes. So California, the nation's, where did that jump? Sorry. Um, Come on. California, the nation's most populous state, lost more tax filers and dependents on net than any other state. Minus incoming flyers, California shed a net 165,000 tax filers and dependents between the two tax years. Texas was the primary destination for California expats, with 72,306 total exemptions leaving to go there. Neighboring Arizona saw 53,000. Um, Two states saw a gross income boost of 3.4 to 2.2. And you know what? I'm going to go on a rant about this. This is what kills me, because I got family that's moving out of New York, and this is what kills me. They leave New York, they left New York for a reason, and they continue to vote the same way they did in New York. Definition of insanity. Doing things, do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. You leave New York, you leave California, especially these people. They leave California, they go to Texas, and then they vote for, they vote the same way they did in California. Guys, are you that dumb? Do you not realize why you left California and now you're bringing that crap to Texas and to Arizona? You're trying to turn these states blue for what? So they could become California. Then where are you going to escape to? What else are you going to turn blue? Realize why you're leaving these states. There's a reason you're leaving these states. And it's not because, it's not because the weather, because apparently the weather's beautiful, California. That's why even conservatives that are there don't want to leave, because the weather is so beautiful. I mean, I still have yet to get to California. Um, Excuse me. I usually put a timer on so I can know how long I'm talking, because sometimes I could just keep going and going. So, uh, excuse me while I get to that. And there we go. Sorry about that. So, yeah, so that's California for you. Let's see. This one's a story. Major Kristen Cinema supporter demands she help kill the filibuster. And here's the tweet that they're talking about from someone called Grant Woods. At the end of the day, if you don't vote to protect voting rights and save our democracy by breaking the Jim Crow filibuster, it should be your last vote as a United States Senator. No exceptions. Country first. Yes, idiot. She's putting her country first because she's not just kowtowing to what her party wants her to do. And you have to give credit where credit's due. And Kristen Cinema, she's in a purple state, and she knows that she can't just run roughshod over the Republicans, because what's going to happen? It's going to alienate some of her voters, and she's going to end up getting kicked out. So she needs to go somewhere. She needs to be somewhere in the middle, which makes sense, being in a purple state. Same thing with like Joe Manchin, is that he's in a red state. So really, if he really walks a tightrope. So okay, it goes here on Friday. There you go. On Friday, former Arizona Attorney General Grant Wood, major backer of cinema, during her run for U.S. Senate, told Huffington Post the senator must kill the filibuster so that President Joe Biden can continue pushing his agenda. There you go. I do not think that cinema and every senator should support ending the filibuster for the voting rights bill to keep the Jim Crow filibuster. Anyway, look, listen, this is the whole nonsense behind that. The fact that this voting rights bill, the For America Act or whatever, it's such Orwellian nonsense, removes the requirement of an ID when you vote, which is nonsense. How is it that to go to the movies to see a rated R movie, sometimes they'll ask you for an ID, to buy cigarettes, to buy beer, 42, and they'll still ask me for ID. But to vote, no, you don't need an ID. To open up a bank account, for so many different things you need your ID for. But for voting, no. That to me is BS. And that's the whole thing. That's what they're trying to do. So if you don't need ID to vote to prove who you are, that means anybody could vote. There's shenanigans on both sides that could be pulled with that nonsense. The person that really would screw, really that would screw would be a third party person, because the third party doesn't have the power of the Republicans or the Democrats to do these type of shenanigans. Oh yeah, it goes here. Wood was equally critical of Joe Manchin. I haven't read all of these. I just saw some of the titles and I skimmed through it. But yeah, like I said, I know Friday is a slow news day. That's why I put some of these stories in, uh, unless I have something else that I could do on a Friday. Like, although like a couple of Fridays ago, I actually filmed two for Memorial Day. I filmed 2 episodes, so like that, I could share with you an interview I did on Monday, so I could spend time with the family over Memorial Day. But anyways, let's keep going here. Let's see. Let's see. Jobs report misses estimates with 559,000 jobs added. Unemployment rate falls to 5.8%. But the biggest problem here is that the jobs report fell short the of the 650,000 jobs the analysts surveyed were expecting. April's reading was revised higher by 12,000. So the unemployment rate, meanwhile, declined 0.3 percentage points, its lowest since the pandemic caused businesses to shut down doors in March 2020. Despite the gains, the U.S. economy has 7.6 million, or 5% fewer workers from its February 2020 pre-pandemic level. Only a few months ago, we expected to see several months of worth of gains, north of 1 million. Here's the whole thing. We had an artificial depression or recession, however you want to say it, by locking down. So now that we're opening up, jobs and stuff should be more booming. But what's going on is some states, even though some states are pulling it back now, you get extended unemployment, you have extra unemployment, so people are making too much money. So, meaning if you could work from home, then go out, you're gonna do it. I mean, shoot, who wouldn't? But yeah, so let's keep going. Let's see. New polls show plurality of Americans believe race relations are worse under President Biden. Duh. That's all I gotta say. It's like 28% of likely US voters believe race relations in the United States have gotten better since Biden's election. 39% believe race relations have gotten worse. Yes, this whole talk of equity and this whole acceptance of critical race theory is just as is making race relations horrible. We're going backwards. You look early 2000s compared to now, it's night and day. It's really, it's like I said, these race hustlers, race pimps, whatever you want to call them, they're doing a good job of keeping racial division alive in this country, because they lose a job if they don't do it. They'll lose a job if they don't do it. So let's see, which one do I want to talk about? Uh, let's go here. Food fears rising. And this is something that people should pay attention to. It's really it's why during the pandemic I built a pantry so I could be able to store more food. But here we go. Uh some stuff that people, you want to keep a lot of stuff like unperishables, like, let's say, dry beans. You want to keep canned food, pasta, spaghetti sauce, stuff like that, stuff that lasts, uh a while. So like that, you could stock it up in your pantry, leave it there, come back to it, refresh it every couple of months. Just keep a good supply there. Keep especially with the rising prices and shortages, you want to keep at least, let's say, honestly, you want to keep you if you especially if you have a family, and well, it doesn't matter if you're a family or an individual, you want to have at least 4 weeks. I know the government says you have 3 days. When the government tells you, you do so much worse, because they're telling you, at the bare minimum is 3 days. I tell you, do like 4 weeks at minimum. I say at minimum 1 week, minimum 1 week, but really you should have. I say you should have a month. Let's say you have a month, so like that, you and your family could eat. You don't have to worry. Uh, I'm gonna, here goes at the state of play. A UN index of food prices has reached its highest since September 2011, climbing almost 5% since last month. Last month, reports Bloomberg. Another tracker of prices from grains to sugar and coffee is up 70%. Even in the US, rising prices hit the poorest Americans, who spend more than one third of their income on food. The pain could be particularly pronounced in some of the poorest import dependent nations. So, so, fear, fear in rising prices, and there's also some shortages in this country because we got a lack of workers. So, like I said, you want to keep at least a month worth of food on hand, because at the very, let's say if you have a month's worth of food supply, if you see stuff is getting worse, you could always try to extend it. So stuff like, let's say, you could do canned chicken. You could get some canned chicken, have some pasta, have some spaghetti sauce. Bam, you have 2 days worth of meals right there. That could be, you know, lunch and dinner. Dinner one day, lunch the next. That's 2 meals right there. You have oatmeal. You can make uh, breakfast, stuff like that. Dry. That's what I mean, like dry goods. Even if you get cereal, even if you get a couple of boxes of cereal, um, you don't need to eat it with milk. You could get some. Let's say, get some powdered milk that lasts. You could just mix it with some water. Water you should have tons of. If you have space, you should have it. I have a basement. I have tons and tons of water. I have, I have to actually start using the water I had from last year, so so I could start refilling with fresher water. But that's what you should do. And this story goes kind of hand in hand with that, because I've talked about this before. America's on a gun buying spree, and it says here what's driving the surge. Look, listen, you know what's driving the surge? Uncertainty, crime, um, crime, and yeah, there you go. That's what's driving, and the pandemic. All this stuff. You had riots last year going on all summer. You still have riots going on in some places in this country that the news doesn't do a good job of talking about, because it doesn't fit their agenda. It fit the agenda when Trump was president, but now that Biden is president, they want to keep it as low key as they can. But guns, you need guns, you need ammo, because at the end of the day, you can have a month worth supply of food, but if you know if it hits the fan, guess what? Someone could come and take your food if you have no way of protecting your food. And that's the truth. So I think that's about it. I'm gonna talk about there. I'm just gonna probably rant on a little more. Look, listen, um, I'm not a fear person. I'm not trying to spread fear that way. I'm someone who I just like to be prepared. People laughed at me. Um, I used to, when I had a small house in Philly, really, uh, I mean, my house in Philly was so small. The apartment that I moved to in Dallas was bigger than my house in Philly, my house. So in our little house, I had a whole um, tote, a plastic tote with canned foods. And like I said, people used to laugh at me, but nobody laughed at me during Hurricane Sandy when power was out, when there was shortages and all that stuff. And I had cans of food. I mean, we didn't get hit that hard in Philly, but still, it was stuff that I want to say I'm kind of a prepper, but I'm not. I just like to be careful. I like to, I have now I have two kids, and I want to make sure in case of emergency I have enough food for my kids to eat. Call me a prepper, call me crazy, but I have their well-being to think about, not just mine. So, I always have a couple of boxes of cereal because my daughter loves cereal. Um, you know, I got to puree my son's food because he doesn't chew. So I make sure that I always have at least 2 or 3 days worth of lunches and dinners for him, just because I don't want the power to go out. And even though worst case scenario power goes out, I can always plug my blender in the car, which is why I always keep gas in my car. I never to leave it below half a tank. These are type of little things that you should think about when we're in these uncertain times. That's like I said, have your car always full. Don't get it below half a tank. Always have it full. Power goes out, you have a power source right there. You have a place to charge it. If you don't have, let's say, um, a generator, if you don't have even a portable generator, like one of those crank generators where you could, have it for an emergency radio. You could have for a phone to charge a phone. Let's say not even to charge a phone, to charge devices. So like that, let's say your kid's in an emergency. Let's say you download. I don't know about you guys, but let's say um, Netflix and anyway, all these streaming services, they allow you to download movies to watch data free. So you could download these movies, have them on their tablets. So like that, power goes out. Guess what? They still have. You can still. There's a way to entertain them. So like that, they're not freaking out. So they're calm. So just these are some ideas that if you don't think about, hopefully, if you don't think about it and you hear this and you go, oh wait, that's a good idea. Maybe have some sort of device like that you could use to charge your devices. That's something like that. But these are the things I think about. And I'm not a country boy. I'm a city boy. But these are things that I do to I go in a pickle. This is what I want. I want to have my water. I want to have my food. I want to have my protection, and I want to have stuff for still to have some conveniences. And if you live somewhere in a cold state, you want to have some sort of heating. You want wood. You want to have wood supplied as best as you can at all times. Um, Coal, if you have a coal stove, pellet stove, whatever. These are things that you should never be low on. You should always have. Um, Even when I lived in Texas, I had a fireplace. I always had, uh, I always had like a cord of wood. If you don't understand, then you don't know what I'm talking about. But you know, so let's say for example, during that cold freeze that happened in Texas, if I would have still been in Texas, I would have probably been I would have been probably good for a couple of days. It's because the fact that I had wood there, and when like right now here in Pennsylvania, we get cold. I have wood. I don't necessarily have a fireplace. I have a coal stove, but I can still put wood into it and still warm up the house. But these are things that, like I said, you should think about for emergencies. So, anyways, it's Friday. Enjoy your Friday. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend. Um, I'm the Right Rican. You'll follow me in YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Gab, Telegram, and let's see. I'm thinking about if anyone knows has done stuff on locals or anything like that. I created the page, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to put my videos there or not. So anyway, let me know in the comments. With that being said, have a great weekend, everyone.